Hi there, my name is James Dash and I'm the course leader for music performance. What I'm going to take you through now is an analysis exercise that we'll be doing in your first year on the course. During your time on the music performance course, we spend a lot of time looking at popular musical styles. These could range from things in the 50s to the 60s, such as blues, rock and roll, soul, all the way to 70s and 80s, looking at heavy metal, synth pop, and then you would take this understanding into genres beyond the 80s, into more modern day stuff. What we're going to do today is a song analysis. We study a lot of different popular genres on the course, and there's a number of things that we want to try and understand about what makes that genre tick. So this could involve things like the song structure. Do songs of this style involve things like intros, verses, choruses and solos? What instruments are typically used in this genre and how are they played? Is there anything we could note about the types of chords used, or is there any structure to the types of chords used? And lyrical content. Not every genre has lyrics, but the majority of them do. At least the ones that we study, a lot of them will do. Is there a particular theme that these lyrics tend to be about? Are there particular messages that they might be trying to get out there? How you would then take this understanding is you would not only produce written work outlining your understanding of the genres we're studying, you would then take your understanding of them and put them into your practical work. So if we were, for instance, learning about 50s rock and roll, I would then want you to take that understanding and try and authentically and successfully play songs that sound like a 50s rock and roll, using those same ideas that we would be talking about in class. So the song we're going to be looking at is a 1950s blues song by Muddy Waters. So Muddy Waters was a really important blues artist, and blues as a genre is incredibly important when studying popular music. Without the blues, we might not have some of the genres today, such as rock and roll, soul, and going on forwards. The song we're going to look at is called I Want to Be Loved, and as I said, it's by Muddy Waters. So what I would do is perhaps pause this video now, try and find that song on YouTube and have a listen to it. And as I said, try and have a think about the following things. What's the song structure? What instruments can you hear and what are they doing? What do you think? What chords do you think are being used? And what's the lyrical content? You might even perhaps search the lyrics in Google, do a quick Google search that might help you to underpin that. Welcome back. So hopefully you had a listen to that song. Let's start trying to analyse it. The first thing we'll have a look at is song structure. So when we talk about song structure, we might be thinking about things like intros, verses, choruses, and hopefully we've got something similar to this. So this song has an intro, then it has two verses back to back, a solo in which the harmonica is soloing, a bridge, and then a final verse. So something that we encounter quite a lot in 50s music is no chorus. When we think of song structure, the chorus is perhaps the first thing we think of. But all the time with 50s music, that's not the case. What we tend to get is at the end of verses, we might get the song title to give us that connection between the lyrics and the song title of the song. Okay, let's have a look at the next bit, instrumentation. So instrumentation is just what instruments do you hear in that song, and we could also think about what they're actually doing. It's not just about what instruments are there, but the way they're being played is also really important to understanding a genre. So these are the instruments hopefully you found. So we've got drum kit, electric bass, harmonica, piano, electric guitar and vocals. So using the term drum kit is quite important. If we were to say, for instance, just drums, that might be a bit vague because we wouldn't know if we were talking about your typical understanding of like a rock drum kit or timpani drums and a wide variety of other ones. So the use of the term kit at the end of that is quite important. In terms of what the drum kit's doing here, we could think about how it's being played. It's being played in a swung rhythm. Where certain parts of the drum kit are being played rhythmically, we have the kick drum on beats 1 and 3 and the snare on 2 and 4, which if you're familiar with the typical rock beat is something that hopefully you understand. Let's move on to the electric bass. As we start to get further through the decades in popular music, we start to see electronic instruments take over. At the beginning of blues, we might see something like the upright or double bass, but here we've got an electric one, and it's important to try and specify that. So hopefully this is a term that we are familiar with, a walking bass line, where the bass outlines the notes of the chord and essentially plays them in an ascending and descending manner. Okay, next one, a really important instrument to blues is the harmonica. Harmonica is an instrument, if you listen to a lot of blues music, particularly by artists like Little Walter, Muddy Waters or Howling Wolf, harmonica is something that you'll be hearing a lot. In terms of what it's playing, it mainly does a lot of improvising and solo playing, but also does a feature really important to blues called call and response. If you've ever studied the blues before, you might have heard this term call and response, and that's the idea of when you might have a singer give a particular phrase, they might sing a particular lyric, and then you would have another instrument, in this instance a harmonica, playing something in response. Okay, moving on to the piano. So just some things being played here. We encounter the term staccato. So hopefully you're familiar with that term. If not, staccato means playing notes in a very short manner. So rather than holding the note, we're playing them in a very quick manner. It's playing in octaves, which if you're unfamiliar with octaves, you take the note C and then you play a C above that or a C below that. They're the same note, but just different in pitch. A term maybe you might not be familiar with is boogie woogie. It's quite a funny sounding term, but it's something that we use to describe the piano playing in not only blues music but also rock and roll as well. We've got an electric guitar, again doing improvisation, and any guitar players I'm sure you'll be familiar with string bends, which is used in many styles of music, but it's something that really was started in blues. Then we've got our vocal, so we want to think about how is the vocal being delivered. Are they using any particular techniques, such as vibrato or melisma or lack of? How are they actually delivering that vocal? In this case, it's delivered in quite a loud and, for the time, quite an aggressive way. Okay, so another thing that really is important to genres is the chord structure, or what chords are being used. If we've studied the blues before, we should hopefully be familiar with the term 12-bar blues, and what this means is that the structure of the song is based on 12 bars of music and it follows a particular chord pattern. The 12-bar blues uses, if we think of a scale, it uses the first chord generated from a scale, the fourth chord, and then the fifth chord, and then it's played in a consistent order. So if we're in the key of C, these would be the chords that we would play in a 12-bar blues. Okay, the last thing we're going to look at is the lyrical content. So I've got just the first two verses here for the song, and when we think about lyrical content, we want to think, are there any underlying themes? A lot of the time there might be particular social or political things going on that lyrics might be trying to bring out. Sometimes it might just be your kind of typical things such as singing songs about love. If we think about what the blues means, typically it refers to falling on hard times and dealing with struggle. If we look at the words here, we can see there are some themes of love, but perhaps not the typical I'm in love with this person, everything's happy and everything's great. It's actually perhaps got quite a sad spin on it, could be bringing out themes of heartbreak as well, which is something that we might think of falling into the blues of an internal struggle and hardship. So thank you for joining me on this short taster video. This was just a short example of what we were doing on the course, and as I said at the beginning of the video, you would be taking this understanding and putting it into your practical work in our rehearsal rooms. Hope you enjoy and hope to see you soon.